Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. NIK NIKAM. We are coming to you from Houston, Texas. This is being live video streamed to YouTube and also Google Plus, and you're watching Triple N Talk Show. Today we're going to be talking about the role of yoga in control of diabetes mellitus, and my special guests are from the far end, Arvind Tekti, and here is Dr. Satyanarayan Chilakuri. Gentlemen, welcome to Triple N Talk Show. We are delighted to have you on our talk show. And just give us a brief introduction about yourself, before we go into the role of yoga in the management of.
I am Dr. Satyanarayan Chilakuri. I was trained and certified as a general surgeon, pediatric surgeon. I was on the faculty of a medical college in India before I came to United States. After coming here, I did surgery for a year, and I switched to anesthesiology, and I'm board certified in anesthesiology and with special training, fellowship training in cardiac and pediatric anesthesia.
My name is Arvind Tekti. I am an engineer with a PhD in engineering from Penn State. In India, I was at Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. We have lived into many states in the United States since about 50 years, and I have been involved into a number of different activities related to health issues as well as application of yoga and other techniques. Based on my own experience, I have learned a few things, and I'm trying to give advantage of those or benefits of those experiences to general public in Houston area.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I am Dr. NIK NIKAM, and we would like you to please visit our YouTube channel, which is NIK NIKAM, and you can subscribe to our channel. We have more than 800 videos accenting our experience here in the Houston area. We would also like you to visit our Facebook page, which is NIK NIKAM Network, where you keep abreast of what's happening in and around the Houston area and from around the globe. Today we're going to be talking about the role of yoga in managing patients with diabetes mellitus. Before we do that, we would like to look at the extent to which diabetes is prevalent all across the globe, and especially among the Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, the South Asian population. Dr. Chilakuri, let's start off with what is the incidence of diabetes in the Desi population?
I'm not sure exactly because I don't think there is any demographic studies done among Asian Indians. Certainly, it is going to be in India, of course. Some studies have been done, and they say it's going to be diabetes capital of the world. There has been a tremendous increase in the incidence of diabetes and pre-diabetes becoming diabetics with several complications.
Yeah, that is interesting. You said India is the diabetes capital of the world, and being a cardiologist for 30 plus years, I can say Indian population, and especially the South Asian population, which includes India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and all these Indians, the South Asians also have the highest incidence of heart disease, I should say, because the incidence of heart disease among Americans in this country, United States, is 2.4 per 100,000 population, whereas in the Desi population it is 9.6%, 9.6 per 100,000 population. So that is a tremendous, almost 4 times the incidence of heart disease among Americans in the United States. And by some studies I have seen that the diabetes is almost prevalent in almost like 40 to 50% of the adult population among Indians and Pakistanis. So this is a very serious endemic problem, I should say, to our Desi community.
As a matter of fact, today WHO came up with a report which says that within next 2 decades, the diabetic population may grow as much as 200% or so. India is one of the countries where they say that the growth of diabetes it's going to be probably much higher than any other country in the world.
Yeah, that is amazing as to why we have such high incidence of diabetes in the Desi population. I don't know if it's our diet, which is extremely high in carbohydrates, but if you look at the Mexican diet, they also have a pretty high incidence of diabetes, and they also have a pretty high intake of carbohydrates. Plus, there may be so many environmental factors that
Sure.
may be accounting for diabetes mellitus. And tell us, how did you all get involved with the yoga in connection with the diabetes?
Before I proceed to
Yeah.
that, let me address the question that you raised. Why is India becoming more diabetic population? One is there is a longevity of life has increased quite a
Yes.
bit, so there are more adult population with diabetes. Second, there is improvement in their quality of life with economic development, and both women and men are working these days, so that they are depending on processed foods, and because of some of the habits also they consume more carbohydrate and less of protein and less of fats. So, and as a result of technological evolution and urbanization, there has been change in their stress level. So stress level has gone up considerably, and they are trying to imitate the Western world, and all these factors are playing a role, and they are becoming more obese, and the obesity goes along with insulin resistance and diabetes and pre-diabetes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. To add to that, not only are we picking up all the wrong things from the Western world, even the sedentary lifestyle is not going to do any good, because it's in fact going to increase the incidence of diabetes because of lack of exercise and accumulation of a lot of fatty foods, as you said. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching a Triple N talk show. I am Dr. NIK NIKAM. We are talking about diabetes and the role of yoga in management of diabetes mellitus. My special guests are Satyanarayan Chilakuri and Arvind Tekti. Okay, let's talk about yoga and how it can help patients with diabetes.
Before I participated in SDM camp, the very first camp that was held in Houston in 2014,
Yeah.
March, April of 2014, I was very, very skeptical. I joined and along with my walking buddy, and it was not my intention to be a participant at that time. I was more like a chauffeur to him.
Yeah.
He had diabetes for a long time, and he was on insulin pump, and he wanted some company to drive back and forth from Bel Air to Katy, which was far. So I joined, but I was fortunate that I participated in this camp, and I realized how useful it is. My skepticism completely disappeared, and now I'm a strong advocate of yoga as a supplement or adjunct treatment or complementary treatment for the regular allopathic treatment.
What got you interested in, Arvind, about yoga in relationship to diabetes?
It's very interesting. I am very fortunate that my immediate family doesn't have any diabetic-related issues. However, a number of friends as well as people in extended family has diabetes, and I've seen them suffer through. So that was one thing. But its relationship to yoga came from a totally different direction. I have a back problem. So about 10 years ago, I got into contact with Dr. Nagendra, who has a rather extensive ashram in Bangalore. He happened to be my classmate 50 years ago or so. But as I was going through the thoughts of going through surgery, he happened to be in the United States, and he says, let's try and see whether yoga can help you.
I see.
So we went to Bangalore and went through these 10 days of yoga sessions. And amazingly, it helped me a lot to a point there. Fortunately, I didn't have to go through surgery. So that was in 2004. So since about 12 years or so, I have had that pleasant experience. So when Dr. Nagendra came here in 2014, he has been conducted diabetes treatment through yoga in India. And they have conducted, I guess, in excess of 1,000 camps in India, perhaps 2,000 camps in India. So when he suggested this, I was sold on yoga as a therapeutic technique for many kind of ailments. So we had just moved to Houston, and he said, why don't you get involved in this activity? So that's how I got involved into this activity through Sewa organization.
That's fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching a Triple N talk show. I'm Dr. NIK NIKAM, and we are talking about the role of yoga in patients with diabetes mellitus. Diabetes is a multi-system disease. It involves so many, the endocrine system, the heart, the vascular system, the metabolic system, brain, and every other organ we can think about, including kidneys and all these things. In the modern Western world, when we manage patients with diabetes, we look at one, controlling the blood sugar. Number two, reducing the hemoglobin A1C, which is a measure of long-term blood sugar levels. And number three, minimizing the complications related to diabetes. So let's focus our attention on what scientific evidence do we have as to how yoga can help these three major endpoints, and particularly what type of yoga exercises will benefit these type of patients or these type of endpoints.
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you raised that issue, because there is a myth about the yoga and its role in various conditions. The main problem with diabetes is multi-system disease, but there are certain common factors that it shares with other system diseases, and particularly with morbid obesity, hypertension, cerebrovascular disease, cardiovascular disease, stroke, and loss of lower extremities as a result of amputation without any history of trauma. So all these are complications of diabetes. But there are some common denominators among various conditions that I mentioned. The common denominators are there is undiagnosed chronic inflammatory changes in the vascular system, and there is change in the clotting mechanism and formation of atherosclerosis and also microvascular disease, leading to various complications as a result of reduced blood flow to the various tissues, and also not utilizing glucose effectively by the insulin that is available in the body because of insulin resistance. And all these factors result in neuroendocrine immuno system interference or involvement. As a result, there is also reduced immunity, and they are prone to recurrent infections. So there are common factors, and there's also premature aging that has been found out by monitoring the telomeres and telomerase. There is at least 10 years of premature advanced age compared to the same age group and same morphic condition and same otherwise height, weight, and age are consistently the same. These are done as control studies, randomized and control studies. So it is not just insulin or just the carbohydrate diet that is responsible for it, but lack of exercise, lot of stress because of the advancing technological evolution. People have been 24/7 these days in contact with the external world, which is taking a toll on many people. And also particularly it is seen more often among caregivers, because caregivers have been subjected to the stress and so-called emotional trauma, which is not recognized by many people. And as a clinician for many years, I had noticed the nursing staff working in the coronary care unit, intensive care unit, and newborn intensive care unit have burned out, and there were change of jobs, and it was more a revolving door for them. So the stress has been playing a great role. As a result of stress, there is increase in cortisol in the circulating in the blood. There is increased levels of adrenaline and noradrenaline and glucagon. All these contribute to the inflammatory changes. These inflammatory changes are affecting the chromosomes and genes, and resulting in premature aging. And all these factors have been playing a role. The most difficult thing with diabetes is it is a silent disease. It is not recognized in time. So a lot of diabetics do not know. Roughly they say about 1/3 of the population who are pre-diabetic or diabetic are not diagnosed yet. And because it's a silent disease. So the more technology is available and more people are subjected to health maintenance checkups, regular checkups, and more often they find the disease at an early stage, one can prevent some of these complications.
That's fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching a Triple N talk show. I am Dr. NIK NIKAM, and this program is being live video streamed to YouTube and Google+. So we're going to take a little commercial break, and then we're going to come back and talk about role of yoga in management of diabetes patients. And we would like you to please download our app, which is NNN Media, which gives you a link to our YouTube, Google, and our social media Facebook pages. Okay, let's talk about what kind of yoga exercises are helpful in patients with diabetes mellitus, and how do they change, like some of the things I talked about, blood sugar levels or insulin levels and hemoglobin A1C, and do they reduce the long-term complications? Are there any studies showing any improvement in mortality or longevity, something like that?
First, let us deal with the mortality, because that is very significant for every family.
Yeah.
Comparable ages, diabetics die twice as many as the non-diabetics of the same demographics. The second thing is the yoga plays a major role in multi-dimensional way because mainly it reduces the stress and reduces the stress hormones, and indirectly reduces the need for higher amounts of glucose. It sensitizes the insulin, so there is better utilization of the glucose and more effective insulin, reduces the insulin resistance. And because there are other components which are meditation that calms the mind and reduces the stress, and it has a neuroendocrine. It has two systems. It influences this body through nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, and also the endocrine system, particularly through the hypothalamus and pituitary and adrenal axis. So the third thing is, as a part of yoga practice, people are subjected to breathing exercises, which increases the oxygenation, tissue oxygenation, as well as the endurance. So there is overall improvement of the body. There's a higher satisfaction among the people who practice yoga, and also they have higher happiness, better relationships with the external world and other people, and also they are more they have more focus on what they're doing. They have clear mind, they have more energy, they can sleep better. All these play a role. It's not just hemoglobin A1C nor glucose. the response to yoga therapy varies among individuals putting in the same amount of time and exercise. So it depends on each individual and their body mechanism, what is playing the greater role. Particularly morbidly obese patients, because of high insulin resistance in them, it takes longer and they have to lose the weight, which is one of the primary things. At least 7% of the weight they have to lose at the time compared to the time when it was diagnosed. So one should not expect or depend entirely on glucose or hemoglobin 1C. But multiple randomized control studies have shown there's a decrease in the stress hormones, cortisol particularly, and epinephrine and norepinephrine too. And there is reduced insulin because it is more effective. The pancreas doesn't have to produce as much as it was producing before. And because of yoga exercises, for some reason, there is a stimulation of the pancreas with growth of beta cells which secrete the insulin. So there is more insulin available. All these play a role in lowering the blood sugar or glucose and lowering the hemoglobin A1C and reduce the complication rate by about 58%. The complication rate is reduced by about 58% with lifestyle change, dietary changes, exercise, and stress reduction practices.
That's fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the Triple N Talk Show. I'm Dr. NIK NIKAM. We are talking about the role of yoga along with all the other modalities for management of patients with diabetes mellitus. And my special guests are Satya Narayan Chilakuri and Arvind Tekti. Okay, let's talk about how exactly does yoga reduce the blood sugar or A1C, or for that matter, does it improve longevity and also any complications?
Yoga is misunderstood because in Western world people think just hatha yoga or physical asanas or exercise is yoga, but there are 8 components in the yoga, and pranamaya is one of them. Meditation is another one, along with a few other things. There are 8 limbs they call. It is called Ashtanga yoga. That's the reason. So these are various components that are missing when you go to a yoga studio that is established in the Western world without any training or the concepts that were developed in Asian India. That's why if someone was trained according to Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, which encompasses all these 8 limbs of yoga, it has a multi-faceted effect on the body, and as a result, the yoga influences the glucose metabolism, fat metabolism. So there is improvement in the LDL, reduction in the LDL, VLDL, that is very low density lipoprotein, as well as improvement in the HDL and reduction in the triglycerides. So bad lipids are lower and better good lipids are increased in their concentration and in their volume.
Okay, can you just list one by one? You said 8 modalities of the yoga practice that are like a multi-pronged approach for management of diabetes. One is the hatha yoga, which is the physical exercise itself. The second one is the meditation you talked about. So let's list the other 6 elements, and then we'll talk about some of the specific yogas that are helpful for patients with diabetes.
The very first one is yama, which is the character building.
I see.
So it's a social restraint or nature's restraint, what we can accomplish or what we cannot accomplish, because we have to follow the laws of the nature. The second one is niyama, that is character building observance. So it is something to do with individual personality and how he interacts with the world, external world, and how he integrates his personality with other people. So that is the niyama. Asana is the one physical postures that we are
Yes,
talking about, which is Hatha Yoga.
Hatha yoga.
Hatha Yoga is one form of physical exercise. There are 8 at least names of yoga related to asanas and physical exercise, but they all have almost the same effect,
I see.
provided the people follow the rules and are compliant with that one, and regularly do it at least 5 days a week, anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes a day, and practicing meditation from 20 to 30 minutes, maybe twice or 3 times a day, depending on their availability of their time. Soon after getting up in the morning and before bed are usually the better times, because when you wake up in the morning, you are calm and quiet, and you can easily transition into meditative mode to harness the brain and get the maximum benefit from meditation. And pranamaya, you can do it anytime because you can do it while standing, you can do it while lying, you can lying down, you can do it while sitting, which is a breathing exercise. So it does not require, yoga does not require any special equipment. And the complications are very few if they strictly follow the guidelines given to them by the yoga therapist and their physicians. So if they follow the yoga asanas properly and perform them right way, there's the least amount of trauma. And this is a lifelong experience, and they have to do it continuously. Certainly, it has proven scientifically by various biochemical, psychoanalytic, and neuro system analysis. There are multiple benefits from practicing yoga, and it can be done in any community and least expensive relative to what diabetics patients will spend. The average the amount of money they spend on an annual basis is about $6,600 per diabetic per year. So compared to that, by reducing the amount of medications and the number of medications they have to take and the amount of money they have to spend, the multiple visits to the physicians and hospitals, with all the savings, yoga is very cost effective, efficient, and can be practiced by anybody. Does not require, once they are trained, does not require constant presence of a yoga teacher. They can be self-sufficient.
So this is sort of a complementary approach in addition to this strict diet control, weight control, of course smoking cessation, and other modalities that are generally recommended for diabetic patients.
Correct. These are all taught by the yoga therapists who are trained in Yoga Sutras, Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Yeah. So diet and nutrition is a part of yoga training. So they are told what to eat and what not to eat, and how much carbohydrates they have to take, how many proteins, and they will divide the caloric values. And the important thing is they should any diabetic or pre-diabetic should consume less than what they need, so that there is less demand for insulin, less glucose that is converted into fat and deposited in the body. So the general rule is, if you are not hungry, don't eat it.
That's fascinating, because there may be a general misconception among the people who just relate yoga to just like Hatha Yoga, the pranayams or the postures and things like that. But what you are talking about is a really comprehensive multi-pronged approach to a diabetic patient, because you're addressing all elements of the things that go wrong in a diabetic patient, such as weight, blood sugar, and lack of exercise, all these combined together.
Yeah, many of the predisposing factors are addressed by yoga. Certainly, it's definitely a complementary therapy. Why I am saying complementary therapy is because not in every diabetic you can just only practice yoga and skip the medications prescribed by the physician.
That's true.
So never neglect the physician's visits and the advice and the medications. And you also, yoga takes a longer time to be effective, so it takes more time than medications. So the reduction in the dosage or reducing the number of medications should be slow and should be under the guidance of the physician.
I know most people who have diabetes, who want to get involved with yoga or any type of treatment, the first thing they want to find out is, can I get off my medications?
Once they reduce the number of medications and the amount of medication they have to take, the side effects are also less. Not only the cost benefit, but also the morbidity or other side effects related to the medication is reduced.
I think we've got a couple of more minutes. Maybe Arvind, you can talk about these yoga programs that you have that is going on in the town.
Sure. So right now, we have an experience of past 2 years in Houston area. We have conducted 6 camps so far. This year, we are starting with 4 camps in Houston area. It's something that we have not done before, is to have simultaneously have 3 camps at the same time in April. The camps basically involved pre-screening of the people who register, and I will give them the location where they can register for these camps. It's sewausa.org, SEWAUSA.org. They can go to that website, select Houston chapter out of many chapters of Sewa, and then click on events. That's where they are going to find the detailed information about the camps in Houston area. The registration is going to be through this website. They don't have to pay anything during the registration. The actual pre-screening is going to be done on 9th of April, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. And those who are registered will get a note, email, saying that they will be scheduled for screening at a particular time slot between 8 o'clock in the morning and 1 p.m. there. There will be physicians, there will be nurses, there will be people who would be taking the necessary data. And the purpose here is to make sure that those people who have some limitations in their bodily movement will not get into this program and get hurt, basically. So at the end of this, they will be informed that they have been accepted at that point. And once they are accepted, we will finalize the location. There are 3 locations. One is going to be in Sugar Land. It's Sri Krishna Vrindavan Temple. Another is going to be in Katy. It's a yoga studio called Swastha Yoga. And third location is going to be in Cyprus, Sri Govindji Gadia Mutt. We're starting another camp at Jain Society in May at that point.
Okay. How long is this program? Is it like every day or once a week, or for how many hours?
Sure. The program is divided into 2 phases. Phase 1 is 10 days for 2 hours of yoga practices. During the weekdays, because it starts on Friday, so Friday is the weekday, the camp is going to be carried out between 6:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. at respective locations. During the weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, there will be a common session at Keshav Smriti, and the address is given once you register that point. So total 10 days, 2 weekends, and the 6 days of weekdays. After that, the registrants would get the readings on their blood sugar as well as the other data that needs to be collected in the beginning as well as the end of 10 days or so.
So
Af-
during this period, they will be getting all the training they need to continue their programs after the sessions are over.
Correct. So during the weekdays, it's between 6:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. During the weekends, it's between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. It includes not only the yoga practices, but the presentations by the medical doctors who themselves are trained in yoga practices from the local community. After 10 days, what we will have would be once a week session at Kesha Smriti on Sundays, which is going to be somewhere around 10 weeks, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at Kesha Smriti.
Okay, let's give out the contact information one more time.
Okay.
I think we're just about out of time.
Sure. The website is going to be www.sewausa, SEWAUSA.org, and then you select Houston chapter and the events at Houston chapter. The phone numbers are going to be, you can text or call at 713-834-4909. That's 713-834-4909. You can register and get more information using this contact information.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And ladies and gentlemen, you can
Thank
check
you.
up
Thank you.
this on sewausa.org. And there's a beautiful flyer which will be on that website. And hope you can register and benefit from this excellent program. And we'll be back next week. Thank you so much.